Hi there, it's Deja from CrochetEverAfter.com, and I'm going to show you how to create a loose foundation chain for when your pattern calls for it. So sometimes you'll be reading your pattern and it'll say chain 20 loosely. Well, I'm going to show you how to do it and how to use a little trick to make sure that even though you're chaining loosely, they still are nice, consistent foundation chains. So let's get started on that right now. Okay, I'm going to show you how to make a looser foundation chain for when your pattern calls for it. So sometimes you will read your pattern and it'll give you the hook that you should be using. So we're pretending we're using a 4mm and it's telling you to chain 20 loosely. And usually it's because of whatever stitch pattern they're having you do. You need kind of a looser chain to be able to work it. When you see that, most times what you end up doing is pulling out your chains as you make them. So as you make your 20 chains, each time you're pulling your loops out so that you have a nice loose kind of chain. Now the only problem with this is sometimes if this is going to be your edge, you might have kind of a funky looking edge because it's inconsistent and it might be difficult to pull that chain out the same amount every single time so that you can get a nice consistent chain. Now what you can do instead of doing the pulling out chain method, which I'm naming it, you can take out your 4mm hook and simply substitute a larger hook. And then do your foundation chains as you normally would. So I'm going to substitute a 6mm in place of my 4mm, and then I'm going to do my foundation chains as normal. So I keep my loops on my shaft and to give me consistent stitches or consistent chains, and then I do the 20 that the pattern calls for, whatever the pattern calls for. And then as you can see, I get kind of more consistency, so when I work into them I'll have a better looking edge. So I'll have what I need to do before I start working my next row is, of course, remember to take out my 6mm and substitute back in my 4mm for my stitches, because that's what you actually need to work your stitch pattern in. So don't be afraid to change hooks when you're making your foundation chain. Even if you find that maybe your normal foundation chain is a little tight when you're trying to make it, if you're trying to make it nice and consistent, you can always go up a hook or two to give it a little bit more room so that you have more room to work into. You'll find it a little easier to insert your stitches because your loops are a lot bigger for that small hook. And it's not really going to change the size of your project as you work. It's just going to make it a little bit looser and stretchier. So that's how you're going to create a looser chain, kind of an easier way. If you have any other ways that you know about, you can leave them below to help us all learn some more. Or if you have any questions, leave them below. And thank you for watching.